Welcome to Mobtv. Please do subscribe to our channel for more videos. Click on the bell button for
When we talk about suitability of office, the biggest issue that comes up again and again when people talk about your candidacy is that of corruption. People allege that you have question marks around your integrity. So let me start by addressing that issue before we go into the question of your manifesto and the things that you want to do. Do you believe Nigeria has a corruption problem?
Certainly, Nigeria has a corruption problem. There is no doubt about that.
What in your view is corruption?
Well, in my view, in corruption is the use of your privileged position to either enrich yourself or enrich your relatives or even your friends.
Okay. And so would it be fair for us
in other words, abuse of office.
So would it be fair, therefore, using that definition, to examine your record in office vis-a-vis this definition, starting with your time as a custom officer at the Apapa ports and the setting up of a logistics company that did clearing and forwarding while you were in a custom officer? Would you consider that an abuse of office?
Certainly not, because it was an issue of share purchase. And at that point, it was very, very lawful for any public officer to purchase shares. Okay. And this is exactly, you must remember, I don't know how old you were, but you must, you must remember there was the indigenization decree which was passed by the then military government, which allowed public officers to legitimately acquire shares in their attempt to indigenize most, of the companies that were operating at that time that were owned by expats.
Okay, let me try and see if I can get this right, because the information in the public domain is not that this was an existing company in which you acquired shares. This is a company that you actually set up with an Italian shareholder, Mr. Volpi, and which you registered. And the primary job of that business was clearing and logistics.
I'm sorry.
At a time, let me ask, and then you can clarify.
Because
at a time when you were a customs officer who was responsible, actually, for making sure that the business of clearing and forwarding was done lawfully and that Nigeria was paid duty according to all the rules that were laid down. Now, is that information that's in the public domain accurate or not?
It's not correct.
Okay.
Let me tell you. Nicotes at that time was not registered as a clearing and forwarding agency. It was a registered company to undertake logistics in oil and gas. And that is what it still does. No more, no less.
This is the same company that transformed and metamorphosized into Intels.
That's right.
And which in 2006, was given extended 25-year concession in some key ports in this country. But more than that, it was given monopoly for the oil and gas sector at a time when you were the vice president of Nigeria.
Again,
do you see that this could be a moral problem or not?
Again, you are very, very incorrect.
Okay, please correct us.
Because the issue of monopoly was not there. There were still companies that we met in the ports that were doing exactly what Intels was doing. So there is no question of monopoly. It's a complete misrepresentation of the facts. There was no monopoly at all.
Calabar, Warri, One, all concessions to you and nobody else.
No, it's not all of One. It's not all of Warri. It's not all of
the oil and gas business, the logistics oil and gas business was you.
There was competition, and there is still competition.
No, now there is.
No, there was. There was still competition.
Okay, so
You know, what you should have done was to make or conduct a research.
I
Kadiria.
did. I did.
They are where?
I did.
What was Browell doing?
This is.
No, I was asked.
This is on your company website, by the way. This is not information from an outsider. No, I'm taking this from your company website.
But you should have also cross-checked to see whether what the company was saying is correct or not.
Your company made a mistake about the fact that they have a monopoly.
Is quite possible.
Okay. Let me turn to Mr. Obi, because Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, before the break, we took a few questions from members of the audience. There was a question about what your plans are for the Almajiri in the north. There was a question about the livestock plan. And finally, there was a question about the disability bill, because there are about 25 million people thought to live with some form of disability in Nigeria. People are interested in knowing what this government is going to do about improving their situation. Maybe we start with Almajiri with Mr. President.
Yes, what the Almajiri case, I think we have to look at the 3 tiers of government responsibility: federal, the state, the local government. The allocation of resources, revenue allocation formula, and so on, relative to the resources available to the country, when there's a chance to, let's reach governments. So the question of Almajiri's case, this lack of virtually primary, the basic education, are all local government programs. So even if the center has extra money, they wouldn't take it and build classrooms, equip them, employ qualified teachers from the federal revenue, while it is the duty of the local government. If the local governments are not being given the money by the governors or by the state, then it's up to the local government to come together and scream loud enough for Nigerians to hear them, so that there will be proper allocation of resources by the constitutional means.
Mr. President,
that's for the Almajiris.
Yes, sir. Let me just ask a little follow-up questions regarding that. Part of the frustrations that some people have with the way Nigeria is structured is that we seem to have sometimes confusion. So technically, we'd sort of say something like primary education resides with local government. But then you have agencies like the Universal Basic Education Agency, which is a federal agency and which has some role to play in primary education. And part of this confusion is why people say, for example, we need to restructure and move some things from exclusive list, from concurrent list to the residual list. What are your thoughts regarding restructuring, particularly in relation to education?
Well, my thought is that firstly, there must be a lot of education. And this I recommend, be led by the press, to expose what relationship, how effective the governments are spending to local governments. One is, from the center. If that is not done, then it's very difficult for the federal government under this dispensation to enforce education at all levels by respective states, either the state, the local government, or the center itself. I will give, I think, some examples. In some of the investigations, it was uncovered that local government chairmen were made to sign for the money that are supposed to be their allocation, but they will only be given about 25% of the money. The rest will be taken by the governor. There are investigations in some of the states that are showing that. So I am expecting the press, on behalf of the people, to make an in-depth investigation and expose corrupt governors, and local government chairmen.
Thank you, sir. Would you